Hello, welcome to Topper Machine. I'm Josh Topper. So many of you know my love for steam traction engines, the agricultural engines, and you know I have a Baker 2175, kind of the holy grail of traction engines. But this is a 1/3 scale Advance. This was built, according to the owner, sometime in the 60s, and these scale models were always kind of cobbled together of bits and pieces laying around the farm that these hobbyists would build these out of. And this one is one that I think is really well done. It looks very nice. The owner is very happy with it. It says it runs really well. The problem is the crankshaft pulley, the keyway is all messed up. It's kind of a bad design that they did when they built this thing. And so it's starting to walk off as you run it. And he's scared it's going to come off while they're running it at a show or a parade and hit somebody or do some damage to the equipment, or it could be bad all around. So we're going to address that problem today and get this engine back to its owner and hopefully see it at a parade or a show this summer. So here's the pulley, and this is actually something off of something that's International Harvester. And what they did was they made this little sleeve that goes in there, and I don't know if you can see it. I'll move the camera in better, but there's splines in here. And instead of taking the splines out and boring this and doing it all right, they made this little adapter that drops in there. But this thing wobbles, which isn't good. I mean, that's very loose. And the keyway itself is very wore out. Here's the key, and as you can see, this thing slopped all over the place too. So you got all kinds of issues going on here. So the repair we're gonna throw that up in our 4-jaw chuck, indicate it in, and then bore out that center, that hub where the splines are, and we're gonna bore it a little bit larger, and then we'll make a new insert that'll go in there with a shrink fit. We'll insert it in there and we'll cut a new keyway in it, hopefully not all the way through our insert to keep it all the way around and eliminate any possibility for flex. So we're gonna go ahead and get our pulley up in here, and what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna grip on the outer jaws on the inside diameter of the clutch running surface because that was machined. So a lot of these jobs, the hardest part is figuring out where to grip stuff. And if you're wondering what these grooves are for in the chuck face, that's actually to help you set your 4-jaw where you need it. These are all, you can measure those and get them close and figure out where you need to be. Now I know I'm gonna be a ways out here, but so the first thing I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna get my pulley up here, and I brought my center in so that I can help push it up against the chuck jaws, and that'll help me get it trued up and make it a little easier to keep it up there. All right, so I know the indicator is going to be a little difficult to see, and you're probably wondering, this plate, well, that's just to hold a little tension to hold it up against my jaws. That'll help me a lot when it comes to indicating this thing in. And I'm off quite a ways. Yeah, please. All right. There's just some minor tweaking and I'm already a lot closer. Now I know from experience I can keep trying to dial this in, but I'll never get it perfect because these pulleys are never really machine perfect. But I'm within a few thou right now. And the other thing is you don't want to torque on it too much because you do run the risk of cracking these pulleys. They're just cast iron. So now I'm going to move my indicator out and come inside the bore here because I'm guessing this is going to be pretty true, and we'll get that bore indicated into true and then we can start machining. So we're very close inside our bore. We got a little spot there, a nick. We won't worry about that, but looks like we're really close. So we'll get that dialed in the rest of the way and we'll get some machining. We got it indicated up the best we're going to get it. This cast iron, it moves so much, and you got to be so careful. And then you got to be careful not to put too much force on it and crack it. So we're going to be very careful about boring it. We're going to take our time, go nice and slow RPM, and we'll bore it out, get it opened up, and then we'll move on to making the next piece. Oh, it actually looks like it's turning pretty true. So we'll go ahead and we'll start boring. So in order to make this a little easier, we're going to just start out with a drill and try to take some of them splines out. Otherwise, we're going to run into all kinds of issues with our boring bar. And it looks like our height is a little bit high. We're going to go ahead and drop it down a little bit. Now I made it all the way through my hub, but this is the clearance I had to work with right here. So I'm going to adjust my boring bar a little bit and we'll keep going because I don't like that. That's a little close for comfort. All right, this time I'm going to take 50 thousandths. And we're actually going to open this thing right up to 1 3/4 from 1 5/8, just to give us a little more meat. And actually we'll stop short of the 1 3/4 and then ream it the last 10 or 15 thousandths, just to make sure that it's perfect for when we run our hub in there. Now the reason we're going to bore this close and then finish it with a reamer is because, quite honestly, you got one shot at this. I don't think we can replace this, and we don't want to have to try to repair it. So we'll just do the best we can, as safe as we can, and just try to get the job done without damaging anything. All right, I'm going to take another 10 thousandths, and that'll get us within 15 of our 7.5 inches. Okay, we'll go ahead and run our 1 3/4 shell reamer through. And I'm just going to run this dry because it's cast iron. And according to my caliper, it's a little oversized, but that's fine. I will take, I'll get out the bore gauge and actually measure it properly to see what it's at, and then we'll make the sleeve a couple thou bigger and shrink it in. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch from the 4-jaw over to the 3-jaw chuck, and we'll get started on making the insert. Okay, so I took the bore gauge and I measured the bore on there, and we're 1.752. So we're just over 750, 1 3/4. And we're starting out with a piece of 2-inch stock, so we'll turn that down to 1.755 for our shrink fit. So we'll shrink it a couple thou. But before we do that, we're gonna measure our shaft on the engine, and we're gonna bore this piece for the shaft. 1.183. Yep, 1.183. So our shaft is a little undersized from 1 3/16. So we'll have to compensate for that when we bore that. So I know you're probably all thinking, well, that's a reamer. That's not going to cut the size you want. Well, this is actually a 1.185 reamer. So it's just a couple thou bigger than I want, which is fine. It'll allow it to slide on. And when we do the shrink fit, it might actually compress the bore just a little bit and fit tighter. So. All right, we got our bore cut. Now we'll come down and turn our OD to 1.755. You can see it got a little hot there. We're gonna have to cool that down, measure it, and then keep taking passes, but keep cooling it. All right, I slowed down my feed rate, and I'm taking 50 thousandths, 25 aside. That made a nice smooth surface. Let's see where we're at. .773. Yeah, 1.773. There's a little warmth there, so we'll start up the coolant and let it cool again for a minute and measure it one more time and then take our last pass. .772, so it shrunk 1 thousandths, just cooling that little bit with the coolant. So we got about 16, 17 thou to go. I said we had 17 thou to go. I'm going to take 15. I'm just going to take a short pass and measure it. And that's enough right there. 2 thou more to go. So it looks like I can take my 17 thou completely and should be okay. All right, we came out 1.755 and 5/10. So just a little over, which is fine. A little tighter ain't gonna hurt nothing on this application. Now we'll go ahead and get our parting tool and part this off. Okay, so our piece needs to be 3.465 long. So what we do is we come in and touch off our parting blade. Zero our indicator, our digital readout, and then turn it over the width of our cutoff blade, which is 160 on this. Zero it again and crank it down the distance we need, which is 3.465. Well, there it is. Let's go see how it fits on the shaft. Boy, about perfect. Way tighter than what was there before. So now we'll go ahead and we'll get this set up and get our keyway cut, and then we'll shrink it into our pulley. So the next step in this job is to cut the internal keyway, and we're going to do that in the slaughter. I got it already set up, and I'll do another video in the future on setting these up, but I'll bring you in to show you what I did. So we got our piece in the 3-jaw chuck here. I've got a parallel underneath just to hold it from sliding down, because these just push, and that's all they do. Now, I don't have a cutter the right size. This is only a 1/4 inch wide. So we're going to take the center out, and then we're going to move one side and then the other and take the center, or widen it out to the 385, because the key in the shaft is a little oversized. So we'll just make everything 385 and make one key. Perfect. Well, now I've got the problem of how am I going to get this in there. This morning, my wife and I ran to Superior to go to Walmart, and I was going to get some of that electronics duster stuff that several people said you can use that to chill parts, so I wanted to give it a try. Well, guess what? Walmart didn't have any, so we drove an hour for basically nothing. 1 hour one way. The next nearest Walmart's about 45 miles. I guess we'll give that a try tomorrow, but for right now, I'm going to just throw this in the freezer and hope for the best. So I got the pulley out here. I've got it sitting on a block on the hub here so that when I drop the insert in, it don't go too far. And I'm going to go ahead and warm this up a little bit with the torch, and then I'll grab the piece out of the freezer. Okay, so I got the thing out of the freezer and it shrunk a little bit, but somebody had suggested these compressed air cans to chill it even further. We're gonna give that a try. And we got one shot at this, so we gotta be quick. Well, that did not go nearly as well as I had hoped. I did get it in there without any damage or anything. It went. I had to rush and get it up on the hydraulic press, and push it in as fast as I could, and that worked out. I didn't take much for pressure to get it in. It just needed a little help. So the compressed air can is a no-go for me moving forward. Just not cold enough, not enough. In fact, I'm thinking liquid propane would have been better. So with that, I just made the call and ordered a CO2 tank with a dip tube, and I ordered the thing for making my own dry ice because I know dry ice works well. I can get that, but it's an hour away. But that's more readily available to me than liquid nitrogen, which would have worked even better. But again, I'm in a desolate area. Things are not available here. So we have to be resourceful and find ways to make things work. And so making my own dry ice is a very good option moving forward. So now that that's done, let's go make the key for this. So I did a little quick measuring on the existing key, and actually the existing key is the right width, but I didn't cut my keyway as deep as the keyway was in the sprocket or in the pulley. So I can actually shave this key down a little bit and make it work. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna trim a little bit off of it and use this key. All right, so I trimmed it down, the key down a little bit. Let's see how it goes. Starts nice. It's a tapered key, so and she wants to stop, and I'm thinking I'm gonna take it back out and just see what's going on here, because it should go in better than this. And I'm guessing I gotta look at that keyway on the shaft. Okay, so just running my finger in here, I can feel some bumps, some problems. And when I pulled the key back out, I saw some scratching going on. So I know there's some issues. So I'm just gonna take a needle file down in the bottom and just touch that up a little bit. They said, when I said these things were pretty cobbled together when they were made, I wasn't joking. There's a lot of, you can see I hit on the sides, but not in the middle, but I feel a divot there. So I'll spend a little time here with the file and just get this cleaned up. So I found a bunch of little issues. Let's give this a try again though. A little bit of polishing, a little bit of touch up, and we'll see where we're at now. That ought to go the rest of the way. Well, that key went in nice and tight. I had a slight taper on it, so it should have done a nice taper lock. And then once I put the set screw down into it, it just kind of bites right in. Now, like I said, the problem he was having was there was all that movement there, and it just kept wanting to wobble and walk out. Now let's grab on and see if it moves. Yeah, she ain't going anywhere. And the clutch engages nicely. The engine moves a little, disengages. Yeah, he should be in good shape. Well, I hope you enjoyed the repair of this third scale Advance. This was obviously a major problem for him for quite some time, and it looks like it's going to take care of the problems, tightened it right up, and it should give him many, many more years of fun and happiness. These steam engines, they bring a lot of happiness. And this canned air, this was a big disaster, and this is something I will never do again. It was worth a shot, but it almost caused a big problem for me. So like I said earlier, I ordered up a CO2 tank with a dip tube and the stuff for making my own dry ice, and we'll just start making dry ice as I need it, just because, like I said, this area is so hard to get supplies in. It's very desolate, and there's just not a lot of stuff available for us. So you got to get resourceful and do what you can to make it through and survive. So until next time, get out in your shop and get it done right the first time.